Now broadcasting. All right. So let's get a couple things cleared up real quick. Hello, Miss Debbie Fox. Hello. All right, Delphi. The search, the water search, the air search, the radio communication between them and dispatch and the helicopters. And was there a lot of communication that wasn't adding up? Other communication on the radios that had nothing to do with the search. All right, let's start with the search. Now, in the beginning of this case, footage came out of them doing the water search, also the air search with helicopters, 3, I believe. But we're not sure if one of them were actually within the search or news. So, the water search. Now, the water search, thank you, Debbie, for letting me know you can hear me. The water search, the footage that was released, what they were doing was dredging or dragging the river with their feet, possibly for the girls' bodies. No offense to the families, but I'm just letting you know what kind of knowledge I have in this. And that's why they were walking arm to arm and spanned across the river. And they walked the river, shuffling their feet. Usually that technique is used when they are looking for a body. They did not find the body yet. That's why they were looking in the river, along with the helicopters that were out there searching. So usually that's what they do, because there was a current. There was a good chance that the girls might have just drowned. Right at this point, they had no idea that a murder occurred. So what they were doing was dredging the river. They were searching the river for the bodies, because it's possible that the girls might have slipped. They don't know, right? The girls didn't show up there. They don't know. If the first reports was they might have fell off the bridge. So what did they do? They dredged the river. They searched it, dragged it, whatever you want to call it, searching for the girls, which was a good idea, because it was possible. At that point, they did not know that the girls were missing. So they were doing their jobs and looking in the river also, because there's a chance that with a current, maybe they slipped, maybe whatever it may be, the water's so cold, took their breath away, they slid underwater, whatever, got carried away with the current possibly, and would be lodged up underneath a log or in a group of branches, which if you look at the footage, there's trees down within the creek, or you guys call it a creek. I call it a river. At certain times of the year, it does flow pretty good, and there's a lot of water in it. A creek is something you could jump over. But to each their own, whatever country they live in or whatever part of the United States, call it creek, river, whatever. But they were doing their job, and they were doing it correctly, because it's possible that the girls were underwater, possibly, because the body does sink. And then after the body does sink, within the first couple hours or whatever, the body sinks, fills with water or whatever, and it does sink. And it takes a little bit of time for the body to resurface to the top of the water. So they were doing their jobs. And then I imagine after they did find the girls, then it's possible they were in the creek or river looking for a weapon. It's very possible. Very possible. And I do believe at that point, they didn't find the girls yet. That's why they were in the river. They probably started upriver and worked their way down. So Yeah, very, very, very explainable. Now let's get back to the radio talk real fast. The radio talk, there was a lot of things going on that day. You had two choppers in the air. You had police communicating that were setting up roadblocks and doing all kinds of stuff. So there was a lot of communication that day. And plus, there was also other calls in town, accidents and fires, whatever it may be. So there could be some communication uh, in there that is different and has nothing to do with the case. So it's very interesting when you're listening to some of that stuff all the way through, all the footage that they have. And there's a lot of footage on Delphi and a lot of radio talk and a lot of other things. Um, so it's common for things to get mixed up like that. I'm no professional, but you can hear in some of the recordings that other people have played that there's other things going on that have nothing to do with the murders or the missing girls, because at that time they were just missing. They had no idea they were dead. So that makes sense to me. The timeline. Uh, Tonight on Art of Deduction Franks, the guy said that he believes that it was about 10:19 when they found the girls. Well, if you live up here up north, there's a time change. So when everyone was saying 11, 18, 11 o'clock, they were found somewhere in between there. That was true because there is a time zone in Indiana. So the time would have been that changed. If they were way down south, if it was 10 o'clock in the morning when they found them, well, then it was probably uh, closer to 11 o'clock up here, which would make sense. I don't know. Indiana's crazy with the time. There's Central Time, Eastern Time. It depends on where you're at in Indiana. I remember Elkhart and South Bend were on a different time change than me. And I'm only 45 minutes away from them, if that. So the time change plays a part in it. The trail back there. Now, a lot of people think bridge guy. Well, let's cover another thing. Mr. Weaver, Mr. John Weaver, who told either one of the search party people or a police officer that the girls were found in the river. Now, we know that's not true, but that's what he put out. Now, whether that gentleman did that deliberately to throw people off or he had no idea and he himself got bad information. But that is true. The guy's name was John Weaver. Now, whether he was a police officer himself or just a EMT or search party person, I am not sure on that. But his name was Weaver, and he might have been a police officer. So now let's backtrack. The girls weren't found in the creek or in the river. That's what they're saying now. But this Mr. John Weaver said they were found in the Weaver. Well, clothes were found and a shoe was found in the river. I don't believe the girls were found in the river. But if the girls had any kind of fluid in their lungs, then it is possible. Hello, Connor Loins. It is possible that the girls were, and I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going off maybe one of my theories. Is it possible they were drowned and then the murders occurred after the wounds that they succumbed to or whatever occurred after uh, the drowning? And the only reason I say drowning is because it's fast and quietless, right? If you hold them underneath the water, they're not going to hear. You're not going to hear any screaming or anything like that. And once again, my respect to the family, but we are YouTube crime channels or YouTube couch potato investigators, and we're just trying to put uh, some peace of rest for you people and the families so you can sleep at night. So if I overstep my boundaries in this video uh, it upsets the parents, I would gladly take the video down. Parents come first, and so did the victims. But it is possible, and we really don't know how the girls passed away yet because the answers will lie in the autopsy. The autopsy will show if there was any water in the lungs, uh, anything like that. Now, we don't know. The girls might have been alive when they were succumbed to the end. We really don't know. Blood patterns, well, we just don't know. We weren't there. Are we seeing the real photos of the crime blood splatter or blood drops? They could have been killed somewhere, carried. That would explain why we're seeing drops on the leaves and not splatter of somebody that was killed while they were alive. And even after you're alive, even if you're killed after your heart, you have pressure within your body, folks. Your heart is a pumping machine. It creates pressure. Do you folks understand? I'm not trying to be gory, but even after you pass away, there is pressure within the veins in the heart because it's a pumping machine. It creates pressure. That's why it's called blood pressure. So even if they would have died and then the wounds were created afterwards, there still would be a lot of blood. And I do believe that there might be spraying of blood, not as much as as a kill that somebody was alive because the heart is actually pumping away. Uh, but it's possible that there could be blood splatter even after the heart stops pumping if the deaths occur within a certain time, because you're going to have pressure within your body, your heart, your veins. You're still going to bleed. If you cut it, blood is still going to come out. So once again, my apologies for talking about this uh, stuff to the families or whatever, to the victims, but we're just trying to help out. And sometimes, well, we should just keep our mouth shut. But a lot of people don't understand a lot of things, or they don't research stuff like that, or pay attention to it, or even connect with stuff like that. So sometimes they don't know what it means, or is it possible to bleed after you die? Yes, it's possible. So now that we touched base on them three things there, these things that a lot of people don't see fishy add up, right? A lot of people, what were they doing in the creek if the girls weren't found in the river? Well, because at that time they didn't know. That they didn't know that the girls were dead. They were doing their jobs the right way, actually, and that's how you search for a dead body, right? If you ain't got divers, you got a bunch of search team in wetsuits, and if the creek is shallow enough, you walk it, and and hopefully you kick something up, uh, a deceased person or whatever, or even a weapon or whatever. So tell me if that makes sense to you. Hello, Connor Loins. Let me see what Connor's saying. Yeah, that could be why no one eats and screams, because they were submerged. Yeah, that's very possible. I don't know if that's what exactly happened, but what we're doing is putting theories together that would make sense, right? Do you want the truth? We have no idea how the girls succumbed to death because we weren't there. We're going off information that's being pumped out on the internet and Google or whatever. But we're trying to make up theories to fit why some of these people have questions. Why this happened, why that happened. And they weren't searching for the girls, they were searching for a weapon. No, I do believe at the beginning of the morning, they searched the creek with a search team in wetsuits looking for the girls. Because at that point, they did not know the girls were deceased. And the helicopters out there, well, they might have been news. A lot of people are like, well, they found the girls because the helicopters had to stay away from around the scene. But that's not true. They could have been news helicopters. Therefore, the police would have gave air restriction on the news helicopters that they were only allowed to fly around so far away. The police helicopter probably came in and diverted them other news helicopters or whatever they were. There's talk of 3 different helicopters in the recording. Red, blue, and black, or whatever it was. So there's a good chance that they were news, or even one was a private helicopter possibly flying by and was diverted. And the other ones would be news. And news channels, they have cameras that can see miles. So they would fly way outside of the murder zone or the crime scene and still be able to get good photos. That might be one of the reasons, right? Everyone's like, well, why wasn't the helicopter able to fly in that area? Well, because it was a search. Police, there might have been a police helicopter already out there. And I think there's a FHA rule when it comes to helicopters because it's very dangerous when you get a bunch of helicopters in one area. You have to be a trained professional flyer because there's collisions in the air. So a lot of that talk is flight control between the helicopters and the control tower. Communicating also probably with the police helicopter and police search team on the ground. Some of that stuff explainable. Some of the other stuff that's in there, well, that's because it was a dispatcher and she's also picking up other calls that are coming in. So let me know what you folks think in the comments. Like I said, I was over there listening to Art of Deduction earlier. A lot of people, well, how could, that's impossible. Well, nothing is really impossible, folks. And even after death, if you get cut, you're going to bleed. And it might squirt a little bit because there is pressure within the veins and within the heart. And I would imagine the jugular and stuff. So that is explainable. Not as much as if it was a fresh cut and you were still alive. But like I said, there's a lot of talk of blood, big blood amount in one area, but not in the other area. That would explain the droplets of blood that you're seeing in the one area where there's not that much blood, but there's droplets. Maybe because they carried her or carried both the girls. Possible. We're not sure. I mean, if there was more than one, then yes, it's capable of being done. Very capable if there was more than one. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Could one person do this? Yes. But he would need time. one person could have done this by himself over 3-4 hours before anyone came there? Yes. Yes. Very possible. One person could have done the whole thing. I don't think so, but yes, very possible. Depending on how he did it. If the girls were deceased right at the top of the bridge, I don't know. He would need a lot of time. You got to take 2 bodies from the top of the bridge and to the staging area. Plus, there would have been a massive amount of blood, and there would have been a trail of blood leading to the river. Possibly not coming out of the river, but leading to the river, there would have been blood. And once again, my apologies to the family and my deepest condolences to the family. Horrible. But this is why a lot of people want to try and solve this case, is because we don't want this to happen again. There's a lot of kids that have been missing down there, and ladies, and a couple men. So that's just my thoughts and theories. Do I actually know 100%, excuse me, what happened at the River of Deceit in Delphi? No. No, I don't. Because I wasn't there and I don't have the evidence in front of me. I can only make assumptions and theories. And I can be honest with you folks, to be a detective is very stressful. And my heart goes out to the detectives that had to investigate this. To do this every single day, 24/7, is so stressful. I'm shocked that these people haven't gone off the deep end themselves. Very traumatic. I can't do it for so long. I gotta take a break from it, because it's just, how do you do that 24/7, dealing with seeing stuff like that? It's just very stressful. Mind pressure, very stressful. Now, does anybody have anything knowledgeable they want to say? And there is no wrong theory. You might be wrong on it, but there's no wrong theory in a murder case within reasonability, right? It's obvious the flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz did not do it. It was not Bigfoot. We know that. And I don't think it was aliens. Possibly some kind of demonic thing. Well, yeah, if we live by the Bible, possibly. Very evil person or people. Now, is there anything else you folks want to say? Debbie, anyone? Any questions? Connor Loins does have a good point. Or, so, them are my points on that situation. And yeah. If anybody out there that's in my chat has a brain, any questions that they want to put, leave comments. There is no wrong decision or wrong theory or speculations or anything like that. So, you folks have a good night. I might be back later with a fire. I'm finishing up some chores real quick. I just wanted to talk about that because a lot of people are shocked, and I noticed a lot of people were asking questions over at Frank's. Well, that's impossible. This, that couldn't be that way, and I'm not trying to put down anybody. Frank's a great creator. He's a good creator. Just some people, I don't know, have questions. All right, you folks have a great night. Be safe. God bless. And keep plugging away at the case. Right? It's still an open case. It's still ongoing. Until the police say we got everybody. Right? There's no more suspects. There's no more killers. The case goes on. And the only thing that leads me to believe that the case would be going on is because it was a very good chance it was a ring of nut jobs, sickos. And for you folks out there that say Keegan Kline don't play a part in this case, well, I do. I believe he does. I believe they all played their part. I do believe maybe possibly some of these professionals are right. We might have had some people that we were watching all along. And so I want to thank Mr. Doug Carter for the clue, right? He knew they were being watched, and the police knew they were being watched. So very well could have been a lot more people than what we thought involved. But if it came down to it and they said Richard Allen was the sole killer, but there was other people connected to it also, but Richard was the only one that did the murder, no one else was there, would I buy that if they had the evidence? Yes, because there was hours that went by before anyone started looking for the girls. So very possible that a one-man job could have been done, being that he had hours to do it. Now, how did he know he had hours to do it? How did he know that the girls would be there at a certain time and nobody would be looking for them right away? How did Richard know that? For all Richard knew, or whoever did the murders, their family could have been there. There could have been other people there with them, right? Big risk. Whoever did this murder, big risk. Broad daylight, people actually on the bridge, on the trail. If he would have fired that weapon, they would have heard it. We would have had witnesses saying at this time, somewhere around here, we heard a gunshot. He never fired the weapon. So it must have been just for intimidation, because if he fired, it would have echoed through that whole valley in there. They definitely would have heard it. So very interesting. I think the search team did a great job. They connected arms. They were within 6 inches of each other, and they drug the river how they were supposed to. And now you're seeing clips of them where there's only 4 or 5 guys walking. And that's probably some of them guys or ladies or gentlemen in Frank's chat tonight said, well, they could have been looking for a weapon. Yes, I agree 100%. After they found the bodies, it's very well, they might have very well been looking for the weapon around there, possibly. But if you watch the video from the beginning, or the other videos that are out there on this, they were stretched all the way across the river, walking. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense of what they were doing. Probably looking for a body, or both bodies, at first. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta finish doing my cleaning real quick, and I'm gonna watch. And I'm gonna relax. And I just made some tea. Might be back here in an hour or so with a fire video. Anybody else other than psycho babble. Have any other questions on the Delphi case? If I can give you my point of view on it. Do these things make sense? Yes. A lot of things make sense. A lot of things don't. There's a lot of people looking into the daughter, Kelsey, that gave her statement. You know, a lot of people looking into a lot of things, and it's a very, very crazy case. And I'm telling you, I do believe something evil, demonic, was involved. It's a head spin. It's a mind bender case with all the information that all these people put out on the case. It is so confusing to get back to the facts, and it's very hard to get through the clues that the police left. Right? It's very hard to get through it all. Masons, and it's the police covering up the murders and everything. The only way that something like this was covered up, if it was their own child, I could see maybe the police trying to cover it up. But this brotherhood thing that you people talk about, not everybody is in this police brotherhood. So to cover up something like that, with all the cops and all the other police stations and all the other and FBI in on it and all this, to cover it up and to find out that it was a cop or something like that, I don't think it would be going on this long. If someone surely would have stood up and said this, this is what happened. It's been 7 years now. A big cover up like that. I mean, I don't know. It makes more sense of the drug problem, the pedo problem that they have down there in the club organization or whatever it is. That makes more sense to me than it was the cops and they covered up this whole thing. Now, I don't know. It's possible. We have seen police do bad things that we thought they would never do. Right? So, yes, it's possible, but I don't think so. But I could be wrong, but it is possible. We've like I said, they've been catching a lot of police with corruption and doing bad things. So, but on this scale, I don't know. I don't think so. These guys got kids. They got nephews and nieces. These police have family, friends, and I don't know, how could someone do something like that and then act like nothing's wrong? I don't know. You got to watch documentaries on stone cold killers. Richard the Ice Pick, who would go out and slaughter 2 people and come home, and his wife would say, no, he was just a normal guy. He laughed, joked. They didn't even know. He couldn't. Nobody knew. That's why he got away with it so long. So it's very possible. The voice on the tape. What do I think? I got 4 people for the voice. Now, a lot of people are pissed because I put Anthony Greeno as one of the voice guys. I also put Chadwell as one of the voice guys. Richard does sound like it a little bit, but Richard has a tone to his voice. But like I said, we don't have that much of Richard's voice to compare with voice guy. So that's why I'm saying, I don't know, right? You got Ron Logan, which Ron Logan talks with an accent, Southern Southern Indiana accent. I'm not hearing that in voice guy. Another thing, it's very well possible there's two voices on that recording, and it's also very possible uh, it might have been edited on, but I don't think so. But it's possible that I'm hearing two voices that either were clips and put together so we can hear them, and we're not hearing the full conversation. So the first one sounds like a different voice than the second one to me, slightly. There's a difference there. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. I hope they get every single one of them. I hope they get them all that are taking these nude photos of these women and blackmailing them and trying to, these young girls and everything. I hope they get every single one of them. So what do I think? I think the guy's still close. I actually have some more suspects for Bridge Guy. I think Bridge Guy was a little more thicker than Richard Allen in the chest and in the shoulders. But I'm not sure. It does sort of look like him. And it don't. I would need closer footage. And I would need to see more of Richard Allen walking. And I'm surprised they haven't dressed him up and walked him down the bridge as a reenactment. They might still have the clothes he was wearing. They might have found it. That might be what he buried. I'd dress him back up and have him walk down the bridge. See if the gait is the same. Have him walk down with his hands in his pocket. From a distance, it don't look too much like him. There's a couple, as he gets a little bit closer, it does similar, but I don't know. To send them to death, I would need something a little closer, or DNA. That proves there's no way around it. He was there when the murders occurred, and either he can cut a deal or he's going down for murder one. Murder's possible. He might talk, cut a deal. There might have been someone else there. There might have been many there waiting. We don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping in once again. Have a great night. I would like to break away from crime. Like I said, we all try just to help. We're not professionals. And I really don't need to be the hero. So, talk to you folks later.